You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The fitra is awake in you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
And tonight, we're going to be covering pages 287 through 291. We're going to speak about how to maintain your faith in a non-faith-filled environment. Yesterday, we spoke about maintaining our faith in the Islamic mosque, in the mosque around other Muslims. And I'm going to start us off by giving us a quiz on that. I want to make sure that you guys understand the importance of the mosque. So let's look at this first question from yesterday's lecture. Which is most important when it comes to protecting the mosque? Is it protecting the mosque location? Or is it protecting the Qibla of the mosque? Or is it protecting the cleanliness of the mosque? Which is most important?
It's cleanliness.
Okay, Sister Anissa said the cleanliness of the mosque. Do you guys disagree? Is there anyone who disagrees? Everybody agree that the most important thing is to protect the cleanliness of the mosque over its Qibla or its location? Do the people in Zoom agree or disagree?
Agree. I agree.
Okay, mashallah, this is correct. The people on YouTube agree. Exactly. It's more important to protect the cleanliness of the mosque than anything else. Can anybody tell us why? Why is it important to protect the cleanliness of the mosque? Can anyone tell us why? Over anything else?
Because the masjid is the house of worship. We worship Allah there, and we're supposed to be clean, and our space clean when we pray.
Okay. And
yes.
Any other reason why?
I would say because the Prophet ﷺ, he always encouraged cleanliness, even cleaning our bodies, cleaning, things around us. So I would say yes. I would say it's important to keep the house of Allah clean.
Good job. All these answers are correct. And also, as Sister Sakina said, also because Allah loves cleanliness. Good job. And as Sister S said, cleanliness is also half of your faith. Good job, Sister S, for remembering that. And as Jabril said, because cleanliness is an obligation too for prayer. Good job. All of your answers are reasons why. All of these are correct. Good job. All of you did very good on that answer. Excellent. And also because the mosque are the houses of Allah. Good job. And you want to keep Allah's houses clean. Good job. All these answers are correct. Let's look at the next question. Which two prayers are hardest upon the hypocrites of a community to come to the mosque to pray? Is it Dhuhr and Asr? Or is it Fajr and Isha? Or is it Maghrib and Isha? Someone else other than Anissa or Zarina?
Is Fajr and Asr.
She said Fajr and Asr. Do you guys agree? Does everybody agree with Fajr and Asr? Anybody disagree?
It's Fajr and Isha.
Isha.
Okay, good job. The correct answer is Fajr and Isha. Isha, excuse me. Fajr and Isha. Isha. Good job. Those are the two hardest prayers for a person to come to the mosque to pray in congregation. Fajr and Isha. In fact, Umar, radiallahu anha, used to say, if you want to know who the hypocrites may be amongst us, he said, look to see who doesn't show up for Fajr and Isha. Look to see who misses Fajr and Isha if you want to know who may be a hypocrite, because only Allah knows who the hypocrites are. He used to say, but if you want to know who may be or who's walking a thin line to hypocrisy, look to see who doesn't come for Fajr and Isha. And why would those two prayers be so hard for a hypocrite to make? Can anybody think why those two would may be so hard?
I think because they'll when the laziness, they let the laziness take over, and they just want to sleep or stay in the house or whatever.
Okay, that's a good reason, because of the laziness. Fajr is when people sleep. Who wants to break their sleep? You got to wake up from your sleep to get and get up and get dressed, or take a shower and get dressed and go to the mosque. What about Isha? Why is Isha?
I think that's when it's dark out, so no one's going to see you at the mosque. So they feel like because no one's going to see them pray, that they don't need to pray.
That's if they want to show off. What's a better reason? Why else would it be a better reason to miss Isha? Isha means nighttime. What do people do at night? Nighttime is when you get home from work. Not only do they sleep, but what do you do when you get off work at night?
They're spending time with their wives.
Spending time with your wife, watching TV. Oh man, I got to get home and watch The Voice. I got to get home and watch a football game. I got to get home and watch Game of Thrones. I got to get home and watch my movies. Oh yeah, Isha comes in when it's time for your TV shows. Isha comes in when it's time for you to take care of business with your wives. Isha comes in and you want to play Xbox. You playing Xbox or whatever other distractions you have, your children, your worldly life. Isha comes in when you fixing a car. Oh, I got off work. I'm getting ready to go home and fix my car. Or I got plans. I'm going skating tonight. I got plans to go skating. I got plans to do this, to go to to watch boxing, to go to the gym, to go to this place. Exactly. Isha interferes with your worldly life, your downtime after getting off work. So you got to put all that stuff aside. Okay? So those are the two hardest prayers, your unwinding time, especially in the wintertime. You know, Isha comes in early in the winter. Okay, last question. True or false? No, this ain't the last one. That's what took me so long. I added a couple of more questions, I think. True or false? The Salaf never used the mosque for studying anything other than the Quran and the Hadith. Is this true or false? The Salaf never used the mosque for studying anything other than the Quran and the Hadith. Is that true or false? What do y'all think? They never use the mosque as a place for studying anything other than the Quran and the Hadith. True or false? Jabril said true. Sister Jamila said false. Sister S said false. Pamela said false. A-Kids said false, said true. What do y'all think in Zoom? True or false? What do y'all think in Zoom?
I would say true.
Okay, the correct answer is false. We talked about this yesterday. The masjid was not just a place for worshiping and studying the Quran and the Hadith, but in the early centuries of Islam, it was a place for learning completely. That's where the schools were. They would not just learn the Quran and Hadith. They learned about mathematics. They learned about science. Everything was held in the mosque for learning. They didn't do weddings and stuff like that in the mosque, but they did. The mosque was the hub for learning completely. Everything, astronomy, mathematics, science. It was the teaching hub. The mosque served as the place where the entire community would come to learn. They learned about medicine, exactly as I taught you guys in my class on the life of the Prophet. When the Prophet first migrated to Medina, he built the mosque, and what was attached to the mosque? The hospital. He had a hospital. The hospital was attached to the mosque, and he had a doctor and nurses. That's why I tell y'all, y'all got to learn about your religion. And whenever a person got sick, he sent them to the hospital, which was attached to the mosque, and they were treated by the doctor and his daughter, who was the first nurse in Islam. And she trained Aisha, radiallahu anha, to become a nurse too. Oh yeah, they had doctors and nurses in the Prophet's day. Whenever they got sick, that's why the Prophet said, when you get sick, seek help from a doctor. That's when he said the Quran is a cure for sicknesses of the heart. He said, when you have physical sicknesses of the body, go seek treatment from the doctor. And every time the Muslims fought on the battlefield, Rufaidah, she was the nurse, the doctor's daughter. She had a team of nurses that would go out on the battlefield and take care of the wounded. And if somebody got seriously wounded, they would bring them back to the hospital. The first plastic surgery was performed by Rufaidah and her father, who was the doctor. They made a nose out of gold. One of the companions' nose was cut off during the Battle of Badr. So Rufaidah's father made him a nose out of gold, and he sewed it on. That was the first plastic surgery during the Battle of Badr. That's why you got to learn these hadiths. You learn all this stuff, and this is Sahih Bukhari. Yeah, y'all didn't know that, did you? That's what happens when we don't learn these hadiths. It's important for us as Muslims to learn the hadiths. Okay? So, you know, The masjid was the place for learning medicine. And by the way, Rufeda would teach the women medicine. Her father would teach her, and she in turn would teach the women. The mosque was the place for learning medicine. The mosque was the place for learning science. The mosque was the place for learning mathematics. The mosque was the place for learning everything back in those days. Everybody understand that? Exactly. All right. Next question. Gotta learn those hadiths, people. So those were the questions, the things we talked about yesterday. Next question. This is one I added. I added this one too, guys. I think this is the last question. The hadiths addressing the virtues of praying in congregation in the mosque, they apply to both women and men. Is that statement true or false? The hadiths addressing the virtues of praying in congregation in the mosque apply to both women and men. True or false?
False.
False. False.
Okay, who do they apply to?
Men only.
So that the men should they have to pray in the masjids. And he said, but what for the women and children, he would burn the houses down for the men who stay home, and the women get more blessings at home.
Okay, so the hadiths addressing the virtues of praying in congregation apply to the men. The men, I want y'all to understand that, sisters. The women get more blessings praying at home. So whenever you read any hadith that speaks about the rewards of praying in the mosque, those are all for men, not women. A woman gets more reward praying by herself at home than praying behind the imam at the mosque. And I think I got one more question. This is what took me so long. I was adding more questions. What about this? True or false? Encouraging the women of your household to give in charity is an excellent way of increasing their faith, like going to the mosque is for men. Is that statement true or false?
True. That is true.
Exactly. This is true. You women want to get the reward of going to the mosque? Give in charity. Give in charity. Because there's a lot of reward for us women giving in charity, staying at home, giving in charity. Because there's going to be more of us in hell than men. Why? Because of our tongue. We women backbite. We women gossip. We women have a problem with ingratitude. We women create a lot of fitna. So you get more reward staying at home in your house, giving in charity, than you do going to the mosque, praying behind the imam. So a good thing for you brothers to do would be to encourage the women of your household to give in charity. That's a great way to increase their faith. Okay? And you sisters can even get more reward encouraging your husband to get up and go to the mosque to make fajr. Encourage your husband to get up and go to the mosque to make isha. Because if you encourage your husband to wake up and go to the mosque to make isha and make fajr, you will get whatever reward he gets. So try to stay home and make your husband get up and go to the mosque, and tell him to take the sons, your boys, with them. Okay, good job on these questions. So these are the things we spoke about yesterday, about the virtues of the mosque. And unfortunately, the masjids today are becoming more and more empty. And that's sad. We need to bring back the sunnah and get the brothers to go to the mosque and pray. Okay? So now today we're going to speak about the virtues. Today we're going to speak about how to uphold our faith when in a non-faith filled environment, because this is where the big test begins. It's easy to practice our religion at home by ourselves, but it's really hard to control your faith when you're around people who are non-Muslims. But there are still some things that you can do to maintain your faith when you're in a non-faith-filled environment. For example, focus on your behavior and focus on your actions. Doing this can serve as a positive example. You can make yourself become a positive example to the people around you. And in turn, this will promote a faith-filled environment for everyone. Because Islam, remember, as we talked about yesterday in our Mecca-Siddiq Tafsir class, Islam is divinely inspired. What does that mean? Islam is not just a religion. It's a way of life inspired by Allah, not by man. Islam teaches, and Islam is all about justice and goodness. So if you hold on to the character, if you hold on to the behavior that Allah tells us to hold on to, you will find yourself standing out over the people around you, and you will find other people around you looking up to you. Also, another way that you can maintain your faith when you're surrounded by people who have no faith at all is try to seek out people who are like you within your community and try to establish a support network. This can involve forming groups or organizations that promote Islamic values and teachings that will provide a sense of community and support for fellow Muslims, like what the Muslim students did when they started going to college. Those Muslim student associations, Muslim kids reached out with other Muslim kids and formulated Muslim students associations to try to support each other. Also, you can actively engage with non-Muslims in your wider community and try to promote mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation. And this can involve participating in interfaith dialogues, volunteering in community service initiatives, and contributing positively to the society in which you live, like what the imams do. Some of the imams deal with that, that interfaith dialogue stuff, okay? So while controlling the wider environment may be challenging, we as Muslims can still take proactive steps to maintain a faith-centered climate in our individual and collective lives. And we can promote Islamic values and teachings through our actions and through support networks and by engaging with others, which in turn will produce a positive contribution to the broader community. So it can be done, but it's challenging. Again, living in a non-Muslim, non-religious environment is very challenging, but we should not lose hope because there's actions that we can do that can promote our faith. We have to remember, as Muslims, We are supposed to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And this can encourage good behavior. Okay, and this can also be a benefit for us. For example, I had no choice as a Muslim woman after I had divorced my first husband. I had no choice but to join the workforce because I had to provide and maintain myself. So I got a job working for the state of Ohio, working for the Department of Developmental Disabilities. That was a good job. It didn't entail on my Islamic beliefs. I was working with the developmentally disabled. That was a legal job that was good and brought a lot of benefits to me as a Muslim. It could help me enter paradise. But I was dealing with a lot of non-Muslims. So what could I do? What could I do that would uphold my Islamic values and in turn teach Islam through my daily actions? That's when I joined the union. Okay, that's when I became a union steward. I said, because one thing about Islam, Islam promotes, good values. Islam upholds the rights of others, justice, non-discrimination, and all of that. And I saw a lot of disparate treatment within the state of Ohio, a lot of disparate treatment, a lot of favoritism, a lot of nepotism, a lot of people being promoted to positions that they didn't deserve based on family ties or based on sexual favors and all of that, and I saw myself being treated badly because of my race, because of my religion. And being that I was a paralegal, I wasn't going to stand for that. So that's when I joined the union and introduced collective bargaining into the state of Ohio. Okay? Fought for the rights to collective bargaining. EEO, civil rights. Okay? Our Prophet Muhammad taught us that if you see an evil, you should change it. Change it with your hand. And if you can't change it with your hand, then with your tongue. And if you can't change it with your tongue, then with your heart. This mechanism helps Muslims to protect their faith-centered environment. Even in non-Muslim societies where they lack control. So that's what I did. I was one of the original people that introduced collective bargaining into the state of Ohio back in 1986 because I didn't like the disparate, unfair treatment that was going on back then with state employees here. And I ended up becoming, one of the legislators of the union. Okay, and I spent the next 36 years fighting for the rights of state employees. Good job. Okay, so changing evil with the hand refers to physically stopping harmful behavior or practices. And in non-Muslim societies, this may involve speaking up against discrimination or injustice or unethical behavior. Okay, for example, if a Muslim colleague at work is mistreated or bullied, Muslims can speak up against that behavior to protect their colleagues' rights. Okay, and if changing evil with the hand is not possible, then we use our tongue. This involves using words to advocate for what's good and right and discouraging what is harmful or evil. And Muslims can do this by promoting Islamic values and teachings, participating in charitable activities, and setting a positive example for others to follow. Okay? And in situations where physical or verbal means is not possible, then we move to the last step, which is hating it, hating whatever the bad action is in our hearts. And we do that by separating ourselves from the perpetrators of that evil. And that's like how the Sabbath breakers were separated from those who enjoined the good and forbade the evil during that time. Okay? And Allah speaks about that in the Quran. That story talks about how a group of people in a town kept breaking the Sabbath despite being warned not to do so by Allah. And when a group of righteous people in town who enjoined good and forbade evil tried to stop them, the Sabbath breakers made fun of them and ridiculed them. So the righteous people then resorted to building a wall between themselves and the Sabbath breakers, separating themselves from them. So that story serves as a reminder of the importance of detesting evil and taking action to protect yourself and your faith from it. So as Muslims, we strive to avoid environments that promote wickedness and evil. And we take steps to protect ourselves from the harm that those environments can cause. And this may require physical measures, such as building a wall, or more subtle measures, such as avoiding certain social situations or relationships that promote that type of wickedness. And we have to remember that our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said calamities will be exposed to the hearts of people like a reed mat woven stick by stick. Any heart afflicted to them will have a black mark put into it, but any heart that rejects them will have a white mark put into it. So there will be two kinds of hearts. One is pure, like a white stone, and it will not be harmed by any trial as long as the heavens and earth endure. The other heart is black and dusty, like a worn out vessel, neither acknowledging good nor rejecting evil, but instead it will be absorbed by its desires. So that hadith shows that if we do not hate the evil in our hearts, then that evil will be absorbed into our hearts like a sponge. And this can lead to the corruption of our hearts or the adoption of those false beliefs and the evil actions. So again, guys, enjoining good and forbidding evil is something that we have to do as Muslims. Remember, bara, that's a part of the Shahada. We have to distance ourselves from whatever opposes Islam. Bara, we have to distance ourselves from whatever comes between us and Allah. So when we go out into the world and we're surrounded by the non-Muslims, we distance ourselves from whatever contradicts our way of life or whatever opposes our way of life. And I hope this is clear to everyone. All right. So that's what we wanted to go over today.